sweltering summer day. A remote farmhouse. The stench of rotting flesh all around. And that's before the director shouts action. Sometimes it's the conditions on the set that can be the worst horror of all. Tobe Hooper found out the hard way during filming of the classic Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a film that would forever change the way we think about power tools and barbecue.
When I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I mean, I think that's really a scary, very funny, by the way, but really a scary, scary movie.
One of the movies that had a practical impact in my life was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. From that moment until 4 years later, I didn't eat any meat. I became a total vegetarian. And then one day I ate 3 chickens in one single sitting, and that ended.
The horror genre had gotten kind of boring. And also I loved the genre, and I wanted to see something that gave me my tickets money's worth. And I figured I was, paying, I don't know what, $2 a ticket, $1.50 a ticket, whatever. And I was getting about 10 cents worth of scare. A friend of mine suggested that I go to the student union and see this black and white movie that was getting quite a lot of response, and it was Night of the Living Dead. And I walked out and thinking, yeah, okay, that's the way to do it. That's a good skyrocket that can be seen from far away. So I was Christmas shopping, and I was in the hardware department. It was something like a Sears store, and God, I hate crowds. I hate them closing in on you, and so they were closing in, and I was kind of like freaking, just wanted to get out of there, get out of the crowd. And so I found myself in front of a chainsaw display in the hardware department, and that's where the idea came from. Well, if I pick this damn thing up and start it, they'll part like the Red Sea, and I can get out of here. Well, I didn't do that, of course, but when I got home, by the time I got home, and I think the entire structure seemed to come like in one package, maybe like a nanosecond. But the configuration of the hitchhiker, the cook, and then everything tumbling back into itself was like an instant, immediate notion that came out of that experience of wanting to get out of that crowd. Leatherface came from the family doctor, who told me when I was 10 or 11 years old that he, when he was in pre-med school, he skinned a cadaver's face and dried it out and wore it for a masked Halloween party. So, okay, that's cool. We got the skeleton from India through a pharmaceutical company, and the real skeletons are less expensive than the plastic one. But I'm just wondering, where do they get these skeletons? Where do they have skeleton farms? How do they get perfect and they're cheaper than plastic ones? It was in August. It was like 110, every day. And we would tent the house, to shoot, night for day. And then it was like 120 degrees, and the props weren't cured yet, and they would start, vaporizing as they dried up. But there was an atmosphere. We were living it, and we were in that August Texas heat to the point that it was. It was real. The heat, the atmosphere, and it was such long hours that one definitely blurred into the other.
We shot for 4 solid weeks, 7 days a week, 12 to 16 hours a day. And after a while, we were just zombies. We were so burned out. I think it shows in the film.
If you've tapped into the spirit or the nerve or whatever this thing that comes up, if you throw a net over it and capture it, and you're in there with the demon, it's in your life. And you take it home with you, and you bring it back to the set.
It crossed over from acting into that. And at the dinner sequence, when I'm poking her and hitting her, it was real. Yeah, it wasn't that I didn't like Marilyn. It was just like, been up for a long time. And you get a little crazy because you're being asked over and over and over to do crazy things.
And I just had to make sure, everything's safe. I mean, everybody is, Geez, everyone on this film. Daniel Pearl operating the camera almost got an eye knocked out with a dolly shot traveling so fast in the woods that the camera hit a tree and jammed. Everybody got injured that just kept reminding you we were talking about flesh and blood and life.
I could barely see out of the mask. I could see only directly in front of me. I had no peripheral vision at all, so that made the chase sequences very difficult.
Gunner's mask had ridden up on him, and he was with a chainsaw. And and of course now we're doing a long shot, so the cast and the crew are all like, 50 yards away. And the perspective, you could see it plain as day, where he's getting closer and closer and closer, and he doesn't realize it. He's about to cut her in half in real time. And everybody's going, ah, ah, ah. And Gunner's meanwhile thinking, I'm really doing a good job, boy. They're yelling for me and egging me on. He's just about to kill this woman, And Toby's going, well, let him get a little bit closer.
My favorite scene to shoot was actually the dance at the end. I just started swinging the saw and kind of stamping around. And then I noticed, and they cleared everybody away, and I could barely see out of the mask. And I noticed that there was the cameraman standing there with the camera on me, and Tobe was standing behind him. And then they would move around me as I moved. And at one point I had sort of swung the saw, and I realized that Tobe had ducked. So the reason it was such a pleasure to do that scene is I started swinging the saw at Tobe. I was imagining that I was going to kill Tobe with the saw. So it was with great pleasure. That's when I started really dancing around and spinning and swinging that saw, was that I wanted to scare them with what I was doing. I wasn't angry at Tobe. I thought he was great. I think it was just the frustration and the sort of just the desire to do something back, after suffering for 4 weeks of shooting.
But Chainsaw has this reputation for being so visceral and bloody and gory, and it isn't. And I mean, the blood's there; it's dried on the walls, and the girl on the meat hook. When I pan down her body to show the wash tub underneath it is obviously to catch, a lot of fluid. There's nothing dripping from her. It's just you put it together in your mind because it makes sense. Chainsaw 1 was a play about morality in a strange way, and family values. And it was all bubbling up out of the Times and out of Watergate. And once again, I underline, we found out as a naive students such that hey, they don't always tell you the truth. So it's about a film about a bad day. For everyone, actually a bad day for Leatherface and everyone. The spot that we shot Chainsaw 1 on is now Dell Computers. And the house, they moved it to another little town and turned it into a restaurant. But just the house, but without any reference to what it is. I would have taken it, I would have turned it into a barbecue restaurant straight away, and it would have been fun. The remake idea has been around about 3 or 4 years.
I got a call from the casting people because they were interested in having me be in the movie. And the first thing out of this casting person's mouth is, This is a retelling of this film. Now, this time it's going to be a dark psychological horror. It's not going to be a bloodbath like the original. And I thought, have you ever seen this movie? I wonder if they get it, and I wonder why they need to remake the film. Why do you need to remake a movie that already did its job really well?
If it's successful and becomes a classic, it's going to be remade. And I have kind of you know, had to been a little philosophic about that, and it's a fact. You know, it's a fact. You know, they remade Frankenstein, remade Dracula, but still there's only one original.